Hi everyone, and welcome to the webinar today. I can see we are quite a lot of people coming into the event today. We have actually over 100 or 200 participants that is supposed to come. So it's going to be a fun event today. It's going to be held by Klaus and I, and we are going to take you through the journey of creating smarter building project. So the idea today is that we are going to talk about how to go from 0 to 100. So for some of you, it might be completely new. For some of you, you might have heard it before, but we hope that this can get some clarifications and also the opportunity to ask us as experts questions as well. So we are going to move over to the agenda for today. So what we are going to talk about today is, of course, the cloud. And as Klaus says, it's not a mystery cloud. We are going to explain a bit more about how we see a project that we drive in the cloud. We are going to have some introduction about cloud versus local, the opportunity that comes with it, and basically how to work in it and how to get data analysis out of the data that we gather. One thing that we have today is, of course, how to work smarter in the building project. But if you want to look at how we work even smarter in the future and how we utilize AI and machine learning, we are also going to have a webinar on Friday that will be kind of an extended version of this on how to work even faster, even smarter when it comes to rebuilding projects or for facility management to go from 2D to 3D. So I'm gonna, while we have more people coming in, I'm gonna actually post in the chat here. So if you have any question during the webinar, there's a chat and a question. And here you are, of course, welcome to post any question that might come up during the introduction of this. So let's move over to who we are. And I'm going to give Klaus the word soon as well. So who am I? My name is Britta Vonstad. I work as the Nordic business developer for our cloud solution. So basically, I help both design project, but also I help a lot out in the construction side on how to work smarter, how to bring in data, and how to make analysis of the data in order to learn from our projects. I actually come from an economical background, so data is probably what I know the most, but I moved into the building industry and the technology of the building industry actually 6 years ago, and moving into Revit and everything that comes with it. So it's been a very interesting journey that is ongoing, and I don't think I can go back. Klaus, I'm going to give you the chance to introduce yourself as well, and then we're going to see who we have in the room today.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Klaus Rengård. I'm also working for Symetri. I've been there for Symetri the last 14 years almost, and I trained as a civil engineer, and I'm working 100% all the time with the cloud solutions and Revit and how to make the most out of it. So, and that's why I got the honor to host and talk to you about this topic we have today about how you actually, what to know about the cloud and how quite easy it is actually to start working in the cloud. So, and as Britta said, yeah, please, if you have any questions during the presentation, pop them in the box down below questions, and we're gonna answer all the questions at the end. Okay, the cloud. Cloud services in general. First of all, because I'm going to talk both about cloud services in general, but also going to be a little bit specific about Autodesk Construction Cloud, because that's the thing I know a lot about. But when we talk about the cloud in general, it's sometimes presented as some kind of mysterious, almost mythical thing, because it's not there to feel at, and it can be in some that way it can be a mystical thing. But also when I hear people talk about it as some kind of untamed creature, scary thing, I don't correct them, because I like to be the one who actually tames that or make that scary thing understandable. So, but in reality, the cloud is not mystical at all. It is actually just a lot of powerful computers that are connected to each other in a very high speed infrastructure, and then making it, all of this making it able to store a lot of data, process a lot of data, and make possible to share a lot of data. So it is just in basic a big computer. And there is a incredible variety of cloud services available, of course. As in every other thing, there's a lot of things to choose from. And some are designed to be very universal, and they can actually contain information and usage from a lot of things, a lot of industries. So the most commonly things known would probably be like a SharePoint and the OneDrive, Dropbox, and all that stuff, because people can use them also for private stuff. So they can contain everything from your personal holiday photos, and it could be to the other end. We will have complex corporate folder structures and stuff like that, and it also facilitates companies from medical industry to manufacturing, and also a lot of in the AC business are storing their stuff on a SharePoint, for instance. And we at Symetri are using it as well, because we have a lot of document storage as well there. But when you're using a very generic, or you also they have some drawbacks from that, of course, because it's gonna facilitate all of this stuff, and it's not as specific as it could be. So I would say it's like you could use a Ford Transit to transport sick people into it. It's just to shuffle in the stretcher in the back, and it would work okay. But if you give the people the chance to actually transport sick people in an ambulance instead, they would probably say it's quite a lot better and a lot of suitable for that. And in the same fashion, you could say that when you instead of using a standard cloud solution or generic one, you could actually use one made specific for the AC industry. And that is where Autodesk Construction Cloud, I would normally call it ACC, it actually stands up, because it's made especially and only for actually people working in the architectural, engineering, construction industry. So it's for professionals, and it has a lot more functionality than just a storage, and which makes it stands out very, very much.
And Klaus, since we are actually on this topic, because now we show quite a lot of different cloud services that we also utilize, I was thinking maybe it's interesting to know the audience today who actually works with the cloud
Yeah.
we daily work with. So I was thinking that we could actually add a poll to this.
Sorry, I was just mumbling on.
That's okay. And so let me just check here.
So we're gonna,
Yes. Here, I think.
you a poll. And if you would like to answer, so we have a question: do you use BIM 360 or Autodesk Construction Cloud today? And so, because that actually gives us a little bit of knowledge about if we have reached out to the right ones, and if also how I should twist the content I talk about a little bit if it's a lot of people working with it today. But hopefully I will actually have a lot of people who has never worked with it today. That's my intent today.
Klaus, did it come up to you, the poll?
No.
It said it is published.
Okay, but I see people have been voting, so that's good. That's good. And actually, the majority has not worked with it before, and yippee!
Oh yeah, here I just had to answer myself as well. And it should be public for everybody.
Okay, that's good. That's good. And I see it's not all of people who answer, but it's good. It's very good. Just let me know when you think we should move on. But it's interesting. We have mostly people who actually are not using it today, so that's perfect. I think
Perfect. We can move
I
move
would
on.
like to
I'm gonna
convince them.
hide it now.
That's really good. That's really good because then after today, I will hope they will start using some of the stuff we are talking about. So now I position the cloud services as a general stuff, but also that we actually have industrial specific ones like Autodesk Construction Cloud today. And later on we're going to show some live examples. It's going to be of ACC, of course. But first of all, we have to ask ourselves the questions about cloud versus local storage, because since we started using computers and making digital house planning and stuff like that, we started using local storage, of course, because whenever you're working in a file, you have to store it. That's basic data. So, and it has worked great from many years, and it's what people are used to. But actually now, since the revolution in internet speed and all the server capability, now it's been possible to start working on servers and on clouds instead. So that's why we now have this question, and we are standing in front of: should we go with cloud storage or local storage? And what should we think about then? There, of course, sometimes again, when you see this cyberspace as some strange stuff in the cloud, it can be a little bit intimidating, and you can feel it can never be safe, because yeah, it's there, and you can just reach it by going on a web browser, and it's so easy to access. But even though it is easy for you, it's only easy for the ones who are supposed to have easy access. It's not accessible at all for other ones. So for instance, when and there's a lot of security around this. So I would like to talk about some of the security features that is actually very good to be aware of. So because when you store things, and now the facts I'm going to talk about here, it's I'm taking those from how it works with ACC, and I think it's applicable for other cloud solutions as well. But don't count me in for that. But I know all the facts I'm saying, that's true for ACC at least. And it's, for instance, when you store your data or you load your data, it's instantaneously replicated. So you will actually have it stored on multiple locations, which makes it very secure. So there's not one data center, it's multiple straight away, which is a lot of more safety than just have it in your own office or your own server. It's like actually being stored in multiple bank vaults, I would say, because these server stations are like bank vaults because they have a rigorous physical access control. So it's only authorized people who actually can access those data centers. It's not like tourists and random visitors that offer wander in there. It's very secure. And not just the server to sell, the data within the server. It's actually very secure stored. It's encrypted. So when the data is stored, or even if you could break into the servers and the disk, you would not be able to understand anything because the data is stored there, very encrypted. And only with the client access, you have the key to decode the stuff. And it's also the same when we talk about the data when it's transmitted. It's also secured and encrypted. So it's only actually the receiver that has the key to decrypt the stuff and understand the information. Which is so even if you could catch the information while it was traveling on the internet, you would not get any meaning out of it. So that's very good fun. And of course, then we have continuous testing for vulnerabilities. So and that is again a special thing because when you're having your own server, you're probably not likely to do tests uh, continuously if you can hack your own server and stuff like that. You don't have the knowledge or the capability or the resources. But in this case, for instance, for ACC, that is stored on Amazon Web Services, and they have continuously trying to hack themselves, and they have hackers, so they really try to find vulnerabilities or weak spots, and when they find anything that could be a thing, they will resolve it instantaneously. That's why they never get hacked. And they also have security regarding they have multiple internet providers, and they have backup power and stuff most people will not have on their own local server or storage. So in short, you could say that ACC or the in this case is a digital fortress. It's not a mythical beast or something like that. It's just a extremely safe place to store your data. And you can take my word for it. I would say it's a lot safer than store your data on your local server. So you hear a lot of stories about how companies, the local servers, they have been hijacked by hackers and they need to pay ransom and stuff. And like it never happens for a place like Amazon Web Services. So I know where I would store my stuff. And again, you could make an extremely secure local storage, but then you would have to have no internet access, no mailing your stuff and stuff like that. But as soon as you do all that, you are you're vulnerable. But then another good thing about the cloud thing, that is accessibility, because when you store your data in the cloud, it's actually a lot easier to access for people wherever they are from. So what you need is you need a license for, in my case, I need a license for ACC. I need permissions given by the administrators in ACC to be able to get into a specific project and specific folders. And I, of course, need internet access. If I have those three things, I'm good to go. And it means when I ever have internet access, it doesn't mean I need to sit on the office, or I can sit from home, or I could even sit in the hammock on a Paradise Beach if I wanted to. But all I need though, so, and it also means for me, if I, for instance, like if I'm home and I know I'm going to go to a client tomorrow and I'm going to have my material, then I always have access to material. It's not like in the old days when I forgot a drawing, I had to drive back to the office in the evening and pick up the drawings and stuff like that. It has happened to me. It will never happen with this. And another thing is I would talk about is when I talk about efficiency, and it's also about actually easy administration. I think I want to talk because again, when you have your local storage, you need to be very knowledgeable about IT because it's pretty complicated. I'm good at IT, but I could never set up a company server environment, giving people specific accesses and stuff like that. But setting up ACC and getting that to work, I could train my mom to do that in an hour and stuff like that. So it's so easy to set up and it's so easy to manage, and you have total control of whoever access what and stuff like that. So it's very easy to do. Good. More about cloud versus local, because when we talk about cloud, it's a lot more than just storage, because now I compare local storage and cloud storage, but in the cloud we have a lot more than just storage. We can also let me point here. We have of course we have here we can actually put a lot of our communication in the cloud. And what is the point with that? But that is actually, we can, two things. We could store the communication in a central platform that is accessible by all the project members. So instead of the communication is spread out on my mail, my colleague mail, and some phone calls and stuff like that, we keep all the communication here. And then it's actually accessible by everybody, or at least the ones who should be able to access it. And but we can also put the information in context. By that I mean, so if we have a mail or a phone call where we actually are talking about a specific task in the project plan, we can then connect those two things. Or if we are talking about a thing on our drawing, I will show you that later on, we could actually put our text or communication in that context, and then it will be stored. So if we are searching for context and stuff like that, we could find the things that is relevant for that case or what we talked about. And if we have a building meeting and we are talking about a specific model or a clash that appears in the things, then we would actually have a connection to that clash, for instance, and we could see it on the meeting agenda or the meeting minutes afterwards. We could see that we had talked about all this stuff. So it's giving a total new context to everything, which is really, really good. And really good, both while we're working with it, and but especially again afterwards, to see what we did, what were good and what went wrong, and why it went wrong and stuff like that. So that's a really big thing, context with all the communication. And also, what I say, a unified system, that is, again, where we actually, instead of having project information, again, spread out on different platforms. It could be some things in a cloud, some things on local storage, and some things are just mailed to people and stuff like. Instead, we are storing or consolidating everything on one place, which means we will more likely work on the correct file version, and people are it's much more easy for people to find the files they're supposed to, because they should only look in one place instead of multiple different platforms. And then we're just building this unified platform with all the data and all the members, and we then, by giving people permission rights, control that everybody just see what they should see instead of giving them permission to different systems. Very good thing. Lastly, another thing that is not more than just storage is that we actually have a built-in viewer, which can at first seem a bit unnecessary, but it is actually a special thing, and it's actually really, really good to use, because the built-in viewer, for this case I'm talking about Autodesk Construction Cloud, it actually eliminates the use of having a lot of local software installed. By that I mean, instead of if you just had a normal cloud storage or a local storage, well, if you want to go look at a PDF file, for instance, you would have to download it, and you would have to open it in your local installed PDF viewer. And the same goes for DWG, IFC, Revit, and all that stuff, and Navisworks and RCP files for point clouds and stuff like that. You would have to have local viewers installed for every file format almost. Instead of that, you could just use the built-in viewer, which has support for more than 60 different file formats, especially the ones we are using within the AEC industry. And instead of downloading files, first of all, you're opening directly in the system in the cloud, so you're not using any local software, which means that everybody is using the same software. We are all using the same files, so you don't look on a downloaded version, you're looking on the one on the cloud, the live one. And when you have the same system to watch all these different file formats, it's also a lot easy because it works in the same way. So whenever I'm looking at a file in ACC, it doesn't matter if I'm opening an IFC file or Revit file, the viewer works the same. So I would have to learn just one tool that could view all the things I want to do. And I have a lot of good functionalities with doing markups and stuff like that. I will show you some of that later on. So it's actually making a big difference. Yes. And to set this in a perspective, and I will to show you some live demo. I will just briefly talk about uh, when I was a bit younger. This is of course AI created because I didn't look that fancy and nice when I was younger. I've never done, not today, not then. But when I worked early on, I was many years ago in a company creating prefabricated small houses, and when I was doing a lot of reviewing and checking drawings for stuff like that, and whenever I found things, I would have to give feedback to the drafters. I had two ways to do that. I could either go to the office of the drafter and say, "Oh, I found this. I have a question," stuff like that. uh, and I would always choose that if it was a funny drafter or a good-looking one. But not that practical. But because a lot of things could happen, we could start talking about football and the weather, and we would maybe forget some of the things. I could also, of course, send emails to people. I could text them, or I could pick up my phone and call the ones and say, "I have feedback. I have a question," and stuff like that. But again, it sounds simple, but a lot of things happen. When I have asked someone, maybe they were going to lunch, or I was so things happening. So you know that. So a lot of that feedback and a lot of things actually easily got lost and missed by that. And in the best of worlds, we would pick up the error later on, but in some cases, it actually ended up being built, and then we would have to solve it. But it was then, of course, to solve an issue that I actually built into a house is a hell of a lot of more work than just to solve it when it was on the drawing, and it cost a lot more. So, and I that actually made me like gave me a what if moment when I learned about this stuff many years later. When I learned about the possibilities we have in ACC and stuff like that, I was thinking, yeah, what if I had this tool when I worked early on? It would have helped me a lot. So, so I'm going to show you how it could have been done if I had a ACC. But before that, I'll just again a little bit more about how to work in the cloud actually. And the thing is, so then I'm gonna go back to this, but it is because it is, as I said, a lot more than just a storage of file. It is actually a powerful. We have as a powerful features from working with the issues to comprehensive project tracking that actually put whatever info we have into the system. So, and imagine if every question, issue, and comment was directly tied to drawings, as I said, or schedule or asset, it would really make it easier for us to find the context later on. So I will go and show you how to do issues later on. But it's also, but it's not just here in the cloud. It's not just about solving problems. It's also about managing the entire project, because you can't do that in ACC. You can task all the project schedules and all the tasks you have to do. And it's also making this more accessible to people, because of course today there's a project manager who's keeping track of the time schedule or the time track of the project, but it's not been making accessible to people. And when all the workers in the project and the drafters and the architects and stuff, if they can actually see their tasks on the schedule, they can see their dependencies, it will make it much more likely they actually do what they can to make sure that, because that their tasks are keep in track or in the state, they stay on course. Because yeah, you can see that there's a lot of other people and a lot of other tasks that are dependent on that. You can also monitor the key assets of a project, because if you have really important part of the building that you would have an asset, you can actually keep track on that. In case of, is it you can connect it to drawings, and you can connect all the forms that need to be when you're commissioning and stuff like that, or even when you're buying it, and so you can keep track of all that, put all the data into it. If it's in some way get maybe it could be a heating pump or heating device for a building. Maybe it's got been damaged on the way to the building site, and they actually keep track of it here, because we then create an issue, we store it, we maybe store photos, and then a year later, when if it suddenly breaks down, you could actually see the track the history, see, okay, but this was actually damaged damage when it got the building site. Maybe it has to do with that and stuff like that. You can see the pictures of how it looked and stuff. Very, very easy because everything is keyed together. So, but enough talking. Let's go back to the case where a young Klaus was sitting looking at the drawing, but what would I have done if I had ACC? So let me just see here if I can switch what you see. And oh, sorry, you see that one. It's very difficult here. Share, no share, you see us. Okay, let me share correct stuff. She, bam, we are straight live online on ACC. Very good, very good. Sorry for the miss up there, but as I said, if I had been working in AC, everything would have been a lot easier for me. First of all, ACC is, as you know by now, it's a cloud solution. It's an example of a cloud solution specially made for architectural engineers and construction people. And so I'm doing it in a cloud browser here because I'm doing it in Chrome. I'm running it. But I have logged into my project, which ensures that I can see all the data, all the things I have permission to see. And it's very easily to control who should have access to which folder and what information. And a lot of things here is done by actually adding people by roles and stuff like that. If, for instance, I'm adding an architect, and then I give them exact permission what they should have to that folder and stuff like that. So it's very, very easy to manage. But I said I could learn my mom to do that in a couple of hours. So that's how we set things up. And very fast. And of course, again, creating folders and stuff like that. It's so fast and easy to do. And we could also, there's a comprehensive tool for creating project templates. So when you're starting projects, you can set up all this in advance, which is perfectly to do. So I'll just delete that strange folder. But again, so we are working and just briefly talk about docs, because it says docs because docs is actually a part of ACC, and ACC consists of a lot of different modules and stuff like that, and you can tailor into just we can help you find the tools you need and then know what part of ACC that is interesting for you, because you never buy like ACC in total. You buy the tools you need. And here I'm going to talk about docs, the smallest and most comprehensive part of it. For instance, if I was an architect, I would maybe sitting looking at my documents. So here I have a lot of documents here. I have, of course, if I know what the file is specific, I could go and search for it. I could just write the name of it. I could also know if a specific file type I'm looking for. If I know I want to work with Excel, I could search for that and find that I have Excel files here. Very easy to find and stuff like that. And it opens up, as you see in the viewer, very, very fast. But yeah, so I could comprehensive, fast searching function. But in my case, back to that story, I would look at a drawing and I would then sit and find out maybe there was this issue that I needed to talk about, the drafter and stuff like that. I said, okay, this is not good. We have to do a bigger door here because this is not enough. Then in the old days, I would go to the drafter and talk about that issue and stuff like that. In here, I would actually just create an issue and I would say what kind of issue it is. And then I would say, okay, the door has to be 15 millimeter wide at least. So, and who do I want to solve this? And then I could, again, to the project members, I could even go to a specific company if I know it's a subcontractor doing it. And I could also, again, assign it to a role if I have someone with a role. And now I haven't assigned any roles, but I will can give it to myself. But if I had a specific role, so if I had architects, if I had constructors, if I had project members, I can set them to that. And a lot of more data. And again, what data I will fill in, I can actually decide that myself because I can configure all of this. And now, instead of being a phone call or a physical meeting, now it's actually stored in the project and it's actually connected to this drawing. So it's both context and it's both stored. And which means that if I forget about it or if the drafter forgets about it, then the project manager will be able to see it here, that this project has an issue. Maybe somebody has set a due date and stuff. And whenever it's we are passing that due date, I will, if I'm being responsible, so I will of course get a notification that you should solve this. I could also see it on my dashboard. So I have a start screen where I see all the issues I have, and again, the project manager can see it here, and again, the project insight, the project reports and stuff like that. Everybody will notice we have issues that is not solved. So most likely everything will be solved before we ever build it. If we are just moving on to a little bit more advanced, or then we could actually take a look at how this could be done if we have a Revit file. Because I have a Revit file here as well, because Revit and ACC, of course, is working fantastic together. So if I'm, for instance, it's the same project, I'm opening up here, and maybe we decide that this window should be another kind of window. What I will do there is I will also create an issue. And I will say, again, small window, please. Yeah, that's good. And who should solve this again? I would assign it to Klaus because then I know the service will be top notch. No, but again, and I get this picture. I could even create markups to that if I'm not sure if he will notice. So yeah, let's make it easy for Klaus to find this. And save thumbnail. So now we have made it very easy to find this issue. And again, you see the viewer here now, I just passed that almost, but it's very fast. It's actually faster than viewing the file in Revit. But I have the same capabilities here. I could filter out on the different objects. Maybe I'm not interested in watching the roofs and ceilings. I could turn all that stuff off. And then I could also, if I wanted to, turn off other stuff. But yeah, it's pretty easy to work with, and very, very fast. A lot faster than the Revit itself, and a lot of other things I could do here by creating sections and stuff like that. So. And every object data is, of course, present here. So I can see all the stuff about this file and model. Okay, but now I created that issue in here. What will it look like for the worker in Revit, for instance? So if I'm going, so you see now I'm opening Revit because this is where I can work on the file. And the Revit worker that is responsible for fixing that issue will, of course, do it in Revit because, yeah, changing the file should be done in the real tools. And Revit is the tool to change Revit files. So I will never be able to change the Revit file directly on the cloud. The cloud is just the viewer for me, but it's the cloud is storing the file. So when I'm opening it right now in Revit, I'm actually opening it live from the cloud. So I'm not downloading it, working on it locally. I'm working it live from ACC. And if I'm just changing my view here in Revit, you will see that it is a little bit slower. I feel it actually that it's a bit slower here, but again, let's see here, issues. And I now actually have issue. You see here. And it will take me to that special place. I will get the thumbnail, I will have the description, and I can actually give the status right here saying, okay, I'm working on this now. And this, the project manager in ACC, you see, I'm jumping back to ACC, will instantaneously see that, okay, they are actually working on that issue right now. So nobody has forgotten about it. And of course, I can then do the changes and stuff like that, and I will just synchronize it, and then my files will be updated on the cloud, which is perfect. A totally another way of seamlessly working when you're solving things that happens. So that's amazingly good, and I would love to have had that when I worked with this stuff. Yes, let me just show you a little bit more about the cloud, because and now I just showed you work with Revit files, and I've shown you some PDFs. Here's just an instance again. This is an IFC file. It has support for everything you're going to need. Another very, very fantastic feature in here is actually we have a thing called, you can compare, because you maybe noticed that on this IFC file, for instance, this is version number 2, which means we must have a version 1. Those different versions, I can of course see the history of them, who have done what, but I can also compare them. So I can, for instance, say that I want to compare version 1 with version number 2, which is a fantastic way for me to actually find out what has happened since then. And I can see here now we have 3 things that is being added. I have them here. I have 12 things that are being removed. They're all painted red. And I have 8 objects that are being modified. So I can very, very easily go into this. I could click on the object if I wanted to, and I can actually see the different states of them, see what has happened. And for instance here, now this has been removed. So that would be difficult for me to find if I was just opening this big IFC file and then notice that this was actually removed since the last version. With this, I can't even miss it. So making life a lot more easy. And we have, of course, this version comparing on every file format, almost, I would say. For instance, we have it on the document as well. I saw actually the drawing I was looking at before, it was also version 2. So I could also from here click and say, I want to compare those. And,
Klaus, we actually have a question that I think is good that we take now, because this is also something that many people might think of this program. So the question is that the cloud viewer with filter function can only work for Autodesk family software. So the filtering of objects. Could you explain a bit about that?
Yeah, because for instance, I had this IFC file. In here, I have the same. Oh, sorry. Then, of course, it's dependent on the structure of the IFC file, how it's been made of the IFC structure. But here I can also go and select specific objects. I can close them and unfilter them. So I have almost the same capabilities. which is really, really good for me. So it's not necessarily Revit files, and if it's I have the same thing if it's a DWG file I'm opening. I have the layer structure, and it works on DWG made in AutoCAD, but also in other software, of course. And yeah, IFC can be made in whatever you want to. So it's very, very, so I say, flexible how it works. Uh, yes, and of course then it has viewer functionality of a lot of stuff. You can see here, for instance, it could be pictures here. I can pictures from a site, and again here I can do markups, markings. I can do issues and stuff like that. So I can do context on everything, which is fantastic. Makes it really, really easy to use. And again, we have specific tools for instance, if we are talking about correspondence, that's like the mailing and the stuff here. We could have building meetings. We can have a lot of other things. We have this coordination tools that is making a more advanced viewer, for instance. And in this case, I could actually do aggregated models. So I can actually say I want view multiple models on the same time. I can do that here. I'm selecting both an MEP model, an architecture model, and a structure model. And I can go and watch those on the same time. So we have so much functionality, and I could never learn and talk about that in just a few minutes. That would take hours. But here it is, pretty advanced things I could do. For instance, I want to check here how the models can look, the 3 different models, which is fantastic. And here again, it would be very difficult to do this, and it couldn't be done in Navisworks or Solibri and stuff like that. But here it's just a click away, and all the files is here anyway, so it's just working. Very, very easy, convenient to use. Yes, Britta, but I have to move on. There's so much I want to talk about. So let me just go back to my little this one, and I will then go back here, and I will share that good stuff. This one. Yes, perfect. So because yes, I had talked about this, didn't I? I think I did.
Yes, yes.
Good. Then, because now, we're going to build up a lot of data in the project, because we are storing, hopefully, all of our files, our drawings, and we will store communication as well. As you saw, we can store issues, but even meeting agendas and all the mailing we are doing, everything can be stored there. And that is actually building up a lot of data. And also that data means a lot of possibilities to do information, because when used, all of that data can be a part of making good decisions. What I would like to say. So when this cloud, we can understand data easier, because it actually helps presenting in an understandable way. And we also, when we are storing it in one place, for instance, again, when we are talking about when I was working with finding issues on drawings and stuff like that, then I didn't know what my colleague found on the same project. And nobody afterwards would be able to actually make good decisions how maybe we should change the products we do, maybe we should change the design of our buildings, because this solution would always cause a lot of issues. Nobody knew that. Maybe a project manager in the end knew some of it, but it was really dependent on people having things in their head and being very aware and very skilled of what they do. In this solution like this, it's actually very easy, because you can see in the system that we have had multiple issues, and it would always be regarding this design and this file system and this subcontractor or stuff like that. So it's giving out a lot of information to use to making good decisions. So that's what I'm here. So the data we are doing here, we can do reports, we can do dashboards, we can even integrate it with Power BI, for instance. So if you're doing all of your business intelligence there, then you could just aggregate the information from ACC with the ones from your ERP system, maybe, and then you get a total oversight of the project. But so I say, data driven makes us make it a lot easier for us to do very good decision making. So that's what I will emphasize here. From data to decisions. Yes, Britta, now I have taken all the spotlight. Maybe I think when it comes to licensing, you have so much insight and so much knowledge. Please enlighten us.
Perfect. We actually got a question in the chat as well, because I think that historically, if you ever worked with a Autodesk product, any of the design product and anything from Autodesk, we have always worked like license by license, person by person, and you need a license in order to even see the models, etc. So this is actually a bit different of how we look at Autodesk Construction Cloud. So normally we actually do not invest in this license by license. There is a few exceptions. But what we work with are what we call like enterprise plans or project plans, which means that, of course, there are different tools that we use in the design process compared to the construction process, but we do have the chance to invest in this by the size of the project. The bigger the project, the more you have to pay. The smaller the project, the less you have to pay. So it's also another flexibility. So when we buy or when we invest in this for a project, we actually have unlimited data, unlimited users. So we don't have to expect or a subcontractor, the installation guy, the plumber, anyone in our project, we want data from them. We want to have their installation PDF. We want to have like information from even the smallest stakeholder in the project, but we work with what we call unlimited licenses, unlimited data, so that we, as a project owner, we decide what access they have to the data and what are they allowed to do on the platform. Are they only going to fill in checklists? Are they only going to provide us with information, for example? Or are they going to be allowed to edit a Revit model or what so? So that's how we normally would invest in the platform when we are talking about using it on a project where we also work with externals. I always say this is how you get the power of the platform. Individual plans, of course, it could be interesting for designers that work with the Revit work sharing, where you want to be the same people in the same model. Maybe you are only a team of 5, but you sit in different locations. You have one guy in China, you have one guy in Sweden. Of course, then we can look at individual plans, but in general, we work with the more flexible plans, and it's much cheaper if you look person to person. You cannot compare it to old-fashioned license by license model that we work with different type of project from Autodesk. So it makes it suitable for small company, but also big companies and big projects, and scalable. Okay. Let's see here. Does ACC, maybe Klaus, maybe you can answer this one. Does ACC have a Q&A functionality between disciplines? I'm thinking maybe you can show the comment section of the issue. And then, of course, we have the request for information. But I would say the comment function maybe is the easiest way of doing it. Klaus, we cannot hear you if you're talking. Just FYI.
So sorry, I was just trying to be really quiet when you talked. No, I forgot it. Okay, but when we're back here, it of course we can do in a different kind of ways. We can of course do here. We have a comment, which is really good, and we can. So everybody that is present in the project is available for me to actually address. So it could be I could comment to a specific person. I could do a general comment here. This is not sure. For instance, I could say this if I wanted to, but I could also address a specific people. I should say at, and then I could mention either a user, a role, or a company. So if I mentioned a subcontractor or that is my MEP consultant, for instance, then everybody would see this comment and they will be able to answer it and stuff like that. So that is some part of it that is really good. We can address things to a specific. I could even assign an issue if it doesn't have to be a big problem. It could be a question as well. I could just assign it again to a subcontractor or a specific role. Then everybody of that role will be able to answer my question. So that is a really easy way to work. And again, so it's a really good way. But I could, so again, we have other tools. I could, for instance, here I have my correspondence. I could actually here write mails as well from within here. And then again, I could address it to a specific role company, and then it will be like more a question in general, maybe, and not without a specific issue. Or it could be how we should do stuff. And I could even here files and refer, and I kind of course, add references from here to again to another issue. Maybe say, is this something that you should be solving? Maybe, and then putting an issue here, and they could be able to see it and stuff like that. And I can, in fact, actually from here, I could even mail people from on the outside, not especially people member of the project. So, but the answer would still be stored in here. So that is a really good thing. So we can connect the outside to the inside. Yes. Let's go just briefly back because I saw another question I would like to answer because I actually got a question here as is cloud solutions, are they closed environments or can they connect to other systems? And I would say it depends. It's different from different cloud solutions. But when I know a lot about ACC, and ACC is very easy actually to connect to other systems because ACC is based on a thing called APS, Autodesk Platform Services. So Autodesk actually started by making this platform that they created the system on, and by that it's very easy for other stakeholders and other companies to create. They could create their own tools on that APS system, which a lot of other companies have done, but it's also making it very easy to connect on. And for instance, we at Symetri, we have been making two different tools based on this APS system. So we actually have made a tool called Navigate Cloud Manager, where we can manage a lot of ACC and BIM 360 projects in an easy manner, which is a very good tool. And then we have created this brand new tool called Nebula. This is a cloud solution, but it's working with BIM 360 and ACC again for transferring and copying data between different platforms or different ACC BIM 360 systems. Oh, that was a quick answer to our big question. So, Brida, should we wrap up? Even though we could at least easily spend an hour more.
Yeah. So thank you so much for being here today. We are of course happy to discuss specific project, specific challenges to show you the platform compared to your needs. And of course, there's much more to this. And I just want to remind you that if you want to see kind of I always say that AI is already here, the future is already here. So on Friday, we're actually going to have a webinar about creating from 2D to 3D models completely automatic. So there is a link in the links. You can see the actual webinar. So I would recommend to sign up for that if you wanted to check off some of the things that we invest in order to be in front. And thanks for joining us today. There will be a recording of this webinar. It will be sent out by mail to all the participants after this.
Yeah, and please reach out to us if you want to have a more inside demo, because now it was very, very briefly, of course, because we had limited time, but we would like to show it in detail for you if you want to see more, which I hope to see all of you soon.
So reach out to us, or we might reach out to you as well to see if there's any interest to look more into it. And thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, thank you. Take care.
Bye for now.